Hello everyone and welcome to another round of the Virtual Drift Championships. This is round number 3 here at Castelletto Circuit. My name is Craig. With me as always is Tanner. What's up, Tanner?
What is happening, Craig? And what is up, everybody on the live stream? Welcome to yet another round. And oh man, what a track we have in store today. After watching practice last night, driving it a little bit of myself now that I got the sim rig all set up, we are in for a fun day with this track.
Absolutely. We've kind of been sitting on this layout for a long time. The track was never really completed in the proper way. Maybe it kind of, still needs a little bit of work, but it's going to work perfect for our event today. Let's look at today's line map. Start of the course at the bottom of your screen there. Very short run up. We're throwing it in quickly here and not very fast. The whole entire course, maybe 50 miles an hour, maybe 60 at the very end of the run today. So very small, tight, technical course as we take a look into clip number 1 and your first decel zone along initiation here for turn number 1. Holding that outside line and getting around your first reference point there on the inside of the course. We want to see those drivers get around that. We don't want to see that, especially the lead later on today, more on the inside as that reference point there in the inside of the course. So we got another one further down. So we'll head into clip number 2 at the outside of the course, leaving the outside and going to the opposite end for clip number 3, your next outside zone. And then your next reference point there, get around that, stay on the outside. You don't have to be track edge. It's accommodating for all the car sizes out there today. Those big Mustangs and those M4s all the way down to those Supras and C4s. And then up the hill for clip number 4, your next outside zone. Transitioning across into clip number 5, your next outside zone. And then your first actual inside clip. We want to see those lead front wheels in the middle of that box and watching those lead drivers stay off the rumble strip. We want to give a little bit of extra room for that chase later on in our battles. And then into your next decel zone at clip number 7. Here is going to be a little tricky. We don't want to see left foot brake, but judges want to see these drivers slowing down with their angles, staying on throttle. They're allowed to use some left foot brake, but it's really all about utilizing that angle and staying on throttle down into clip number 8, your next inside clip. Then out to clip number 9, your next outside zone. And your last transition into the big, long outside zone with a wall on that final turn. Super fun track. I can't get enough of it when I drive it myself. It seemed that way. I hope the drivers enjoy it, but it definitely seemed that way as well. I think it's gonna turn out to be a really fun event today. What do you think, Tanner?
I definitely think so. I mean, talking to a lot of the drivers last night, everyone that started driving on it immediately was like, yep, love this track. It's a great time. So I think we're in for a very good treat, especially for those last 16 battles later on today. Those are always fun to watch. I love that we've added it to qualifying, and I think it's going to just give a little hint at what's to come later today, if we haven't said that already.
Yeah, absolutely. And so not only do we have that last 16 qualifying battles, but we are changing it up. Well, I guess going back to what we used to. So with this current season, we've been doing Saturday and Sunday events and putting the main event on Sunday with the track releasing on Friday. So 24 hours before qualifying. We do qualifying, last 16 qualifying battles, and then we come back on Sunday for Top 32's main event. But if you haven't seen, in the US, the amount of snow and ice across almost the entire US is going to be a problem for a lot of people, including me, and quite the potential for a lot of power outages, especially tonight and into tomorrow morning. So we've given the vote to the drivers, and we're gonna run the whole entire event today. So we'll take a short break after our last 16 qualifying battles, and then we'll come right back with the top 32 main event today. Well, we've got our first group of qualifying in. Let's not hold them up anymore. Brandon Gardner is gonna be our first driver of the day. There he is, coming to the line. All right, so our first run of the day. Waiting on those lights. There they go. There, BG Brandon Gardner throwing it in, lighting off quickly as we saw on that line map. We want to see him pick up that throttle right at the end of the rumble strip, and he did exactly that, getting around those reference points, filling that zone perfectly. Brandon Gardner working his way up the little hill here, plateauing down, and now coming back down the hill, filling flip 9. Last and final outside zone along that wall. Look at there. What a first run from Brandon Gardner.
Brandon BG Gardner coming out strong with run number 1. That's going to be some pretty high points on the board to start things out with. It is a 92.7, and I'm already loving the qualifying of this track. It's a lot better than I was doing. As we move over to the second driver at the line, Daniel Andreev, ready to go for his first run of qualifying. Lights go on, off we go. Initiating in, looking good through outer zone 1, gets back on throttle, holds it through all the way through outer zone 2, makes that quick transition over towards outer zone 4. Now up the hill, grab that first inside clip all the way out to the outer zone, now to the next inside clip, down the hill, final transition against the wall. Daniel Andreev looking just as dialed in. I think this is going to be the theme for today.
Yeah, good Lord. So we've got a 92.7 on the board already, and now a 93.5 for Daniel Andreev. On to Liam Akihiko. Will you keep it in the 90s as well? There go the lights. Liam's off for his first run for round number 3 and throwing that car in. Lighting off and filling outside zone number 2. Filling 3 as well. On a really good line, working up the hill, using some left foot brake to get out there to 4. Off of the hill now and working his way back down around that inside clip. Nicely done. For 9 as well, really angling out and then transitioning, filling the last and final outside zone. There he goes, across that finish line.
Yeah, Liam doing a great job for his first run there, an 87.3. Few little things to work on to get up into those 90s, but not far away from it. Robert Kavinsky sitting at the line in the GR86. 5 groups of qualifying today, 10 drivers per group. So lots of qualifying action coming at you before our last 16 battles. Robert Kavinsky throws it in. Outer zone 1 to outer zone 2. Nice and clean right along those yellow lines. Through outer zone 3. Around and up the hill. Nice line. Makes the transition through the first inside clip, carrying a lot of speed. Keeps the angle on though as he comes through the second to last outer zone. Now into that final wall ride. Keeping it right on that yellow line. Just kicking up a bit of dirt after the finish line.
Yeah, just a tiny bit there. A solid run. Once again, here for group number 1, an 87 on the board for Robert Kavinsky. On to Masashi. Back in the wagon. And lights are off. Actually throwing it in once more here. Qualifying first last round. They do it again here. Going after the big angle there for clip number 3 into 5 at the top of the hill now. Dialed in. And just before round 1, he got some help from Zach O'Sullivan on the tune. And look at there, once more. It's actually going after it here in qualifying.
Sashi ending up with an 87.8 on the board, and wow, these scores are already getting really close. I think it's going to come down to these second runs. Martinez Ostrega sitting at the line. Let's see what Martinez can throw down for us here for the first set of runs of qualifying. Initiates and throwing on the angle. He goes wide. He gets into the dirt, but he manages to save it. Gets through outer zone 2. Hucks it in through outer zone 3. Keeps on that throttle, keeps that angle going. Now up the hill, the first inside clip. Dancing the car around, kind of struggling a little bit, trying to keep it online. It gets in that final wall ride. Doesn't put it right up against the wall, but keeps it in the zone and finishes out the first run.
Yeah, was able to save it after really hugging it into turn number 1. Keeps the run going, but the score is going to show 68.5 on the board for Martinez. He's got a second run. On to Maxime. And lighting off quickly. And around that reference point there. Filling 2 maybe could have been a little bit deeper, but grabs 3 nicely around that reference point as well. Adding some angle before transitioning up the hill across that first inside clip. Nicely done for the next one. Staying off those inside rumble strips. Outsides are okay. Filling that last and final outside zone. Maxime.
Maxime Tingai ending up with an 89.5 for the first run of qualifying as we move over to Alex Rogachev. Hoping to see what kind of score they can put down. The lights go on. Here we go for Alex's run. Initiating in, looking good off the initiation, back on throttle. Through that reference point, through outer zone 2, makes transition into outer zone 3, right along that yellow line for that reference point. So he becomes a little shallow of that next outer zone, but starts plowing his way up the hill, carrying tons of speeds, getting it slowed down enough though for the second to last outer zone, gets it onto the wall. Almost holds it the whole way around and finishes out the run.
Yeah, nicely done from Alex, a newcomer to the series, and was able to get quite the runs with him last night in practice. 81.3 on the board. We move on to Simon Sandman. Happy initiation from Simon. Nicely done for turn number 1. A little bit of left foot brake there to get it out to 2. Filling 3. And its way up the hill now. Nicely done for 4. Across that inside clip. Utilizing that left foot brake. Staying on that throttle. Final transition is snappy. And all the way up against the wall. Across that finish line, Simon Sandman.
And I'm amazed he kept that. When he transitioned in that final wall ride, I thought he was going into that wall. He kicked up the dirt, but held it against it. And he ends up with an 88.5 for his first run of qualifying. Now, first time back this season. Great to see him back. Ryan Literal at the line. And our final driver for Group 1 before we go back up to the top and start the second set of qualifying. Initiating in for Ryan Literal through outer zone 1, looking good, dragging that e-brake all the way through outer zone 1 to get back on throttle for outer zone 2. Now staying with it, a little bit of a tire drop there through outer zone 3, but makes his way through 4 nicely. Now into 5 through that inside clip, up the hill, down the hill, trying to hold it together, a little twitchy, coming down the hill, but makes the final transition. gets it on the wall, drives off it just a bit, but finishes out the run.
Yeah, good to have Ryan Litterow back. And an 81.7 on the board. Getting it all done on Starlink. On the West Coast as well. Back around to Brandon Gardner. If you haven't checked out Boundless Racing, go check him out. Brandon doing big things. Boundless Racing. If you're interested in getting yourself a simulator, hit him up. Lighting off quickly. Any better than 92.7 on after a year in the first transition, working his way up the hill. Nicely done for 4. And the inside clip there, staying off these inside rumbles, a little wide for number 2 there, and then kicks up just a tiny little bit of dirt. Potential for the dirt drop right before that rumbles. He crosses that finish line.
Yeah, really, like, end it all or be all kind of run, and he manages to improve. 93.7. Hail Mary, like, let's throw it, see how it goes, and it worked well. Also, our next driver, Daniel Andriev, 93.5 he's sitting on. So Brandon Gardner just beats him out. Let's see what he does for his second run of qualifying here. Can he take back that top spot? Initiates in. Looking good off the initiation, right to that yellow line for outer zone 2. Nice transition to outer zone 3. Maybe a little late. He's really kind of struggling to get up the hill, though. He's trying to really get the speed back up in that BMW. Now he does as he comes through over the hill. Now back down the hill for that final transition to put it on the wall. Gets it nicely on the wall and across the line.
Yeah, Daniel trying to take back that number 1 position. We wait for the score. And we didn't get it. So it's that an 84.2 is what I'm seeing?
That is an 84.2.
Yes. 84.2, yep. And back around to Liam. Liam filling all of outside zone number 2 and going wide up the hill here. Way outside of the reference point. Still need to use it as a bit of a guide. Works his way back down the hill around that second inside clip. And filling the final outside zone. Nicely done across that finish line.
Liam finishes out his second run, 82.7, so he'll keep his first run score of an 87.3. So we move over to Robert Kavinsky now, sitting on an 87 as well. Looking to improve. There's a lot of drivers here today, so every point of a point matters. Initiating in, really quick initiation. Puts it right to that track edge, not quite to that yellow line, but keeps it there as he comes through outer zone 3, through that reference, all the way out for outer zone 4. Now through 5, that inside clip, carrying lots of speed is Robert, but he adds on the angle, gets it slowed down, gets through the second to last outer zone, makes the final transition. Looking good, not quite to that wall, but he kept it like just right there. It was a beautiful little run.
And nicely done, trying to better the 87. Falls just shy, 86.8 on the board. Back around to Masashi. Currently sitting on his 87.8. Good Lord. Throwing the wagon in, but has to make quite the correction there for turn number 1. Throwing it into outside zone number 3, now working his way up to 4. Tapping it up the hill. Working it around that inside clip number 2, cleaning up the run now. Bunch of angle before transitioning across, filling the last and final outside zone. My goodness.
Masashi Yoshida, top qualifier last round. Will he be top qualifier this round? He pulls off a 93. That'll put him right into third place. Third place for Masashi Yoshida. Martinez Ostreka at the line, 68.5 for run number 1. So he's gonna want to improve this score. He wants to get a little higher, even if it means you end up in the last 16 battles. It still gives you that chance. Initiates in, looking good off the initiation. Back on throttle, all the way out to the yellow line for outer zone 2. Quick transition into outer zone 3, right along that reference point, and all the way out to outer zone 4. It's looking a lot better for Martinez this time around. It's that first turn that really messed up his first run. So as long as he keeps it together, he will be good here. Martinez Ostreka finishing out his qualifying session.
Yeah, I don't know how he made that last transition work, but it indeed worked. And a 94 on the board, and he goes into the number 1 position here in the first group, round 3 qualifying. Maxime back at the line for his second run. On for run number 2. And I thought he was going to go off, but he keeps it together, fills outside zone number 2. Now into 3. Good line up the hill now. Filling 4. Filling 5 as well. Nicely done on the inside clip, staying off that inside rumble there as well. Working his way down the hill. Good transition for the last wall run. It looks like he got a piece of it before crossing that finish line.
Oh, so close to a very perfect run, and just beats his old score, 89.8 over his 89.5. So run 2 will be his high score. As we move over to Alex Rogachev, sitting on that 81.3. Let's see what Alex can throw down for run number 2. Initiates in, gets back on throttle, right to angle through outer zone 2. Now into 3. Looking good so far as he comes up the hill through 4 and 5. Now through the inside clip to outer zone 6. Inside clip 2, outer zone 7. Final outer zone, makes the transition. Puts it on the wall, drives off just a bit, but finishes out the run.
Yeah, nice and clean there from Alex. Trying to better the 81.3, and he does. 91.2 on the board. That'll put him in his position here for group number 1. Simon Sandman back at the line. He's sitting on that 88.5. We'll have to wait and see what that cutoff score is gonna be like later on today. Filling outside zone number 3, working his way up to 4 now. Nappy transition to work his way up over the crest there. A little wide of that inside clip. Final transition. All the way out there to the wall and across that finish line. Is it enough to better the 88.5?
Sadly, just shy, an 86.8 for Simon Sandman's second run, so he'll stick with that 88.5 as we come to the last driver of Group 1 out of 5 today. Sitting on an 81.7, Ryan Literal in that S15 sitting at the line. Ready to go for his final run of qualifying. Lights go on. Here we go. Initiating in, almost struggled to get it to angle off that initiation, but makes up for it, gets on throttle. It's almost to that line for outer zone 2, makes it for outer zone 3, but kind of drives off of outer zone 4, messed up a little bit through that reference section. but now making up for it through the 2 inside clips. So it really slows the car down, misses all of outer zone 7. Oh no, Ryan Literal comes through that final outer zone and crosses the line.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a mishap around that second inside clip. And then the score is going to reflect with that 65.3. So we'll load in our next group of qualifying. But Martinez sits on top with his 94, Brandon Gardner with his 93.7, and Daniel Andreev with a 93.5 for our top 3 qualifiers. Up next in group number 2, Cameron Mustard, Augusto Ferreira, Luciano Canero, Oliver Eppinger, Brett Wolford, David Lashko, Mustafa Amadei, Ernestas Yakulibis, Lucas Pasquini, and Jordi Lopez, all coming up for group number 2. It's always a trip watching the semaphore come to the line. And shout out to Cages for running that semaphore today. All right, looks like last call has been called. Hammer Mustard's at the line, ready to go. First run of qualifying. And the lights are on. Cameron initiating in, firing off. Getting out to outside zone number 2. Could have been a little bit deeper. We want to see him on that yellow line. They work their way up the hill now. Nicely done for inside clip number 2. Cameron on a heater here. In the Super, leaving the R32 and crossing that finish line. Nicely done.
So Cameron finishes out his first run of qualifying, ends up with an 89.8. Not a bad way to start things off here for group number 2. Augusto Ferreira now at the line, ready to go for their first run of qualifying. The lights go on, which means he can finally go. Augusto Ferreira leaves the line and initiates in. Looking good off the initiation through outer zone 1, quickly back on throttle to fill all of outer zone 2. Now through outer zone 3, way high up on those rumbles, but makes it work to get to outer zone 4. Makes it through outer zone 5, a little wide of that first inside clip, but makes up for it through the second inside clip. Clears all of outer zone 7, and now making his way to that final outer zone. Maybe could have been a tad closer to the wall, but hey, for someone that said they weren't comfortable with the track, not a shabby first run.
Not a shabby first run indeed. 82.2 on the board for Uto. We move on to Luciano. Piano off. Run number 1. Round 3. Awesome Castelletto circuit filling outside zone number 2 and 3. Working his way around that reference. Really, really tight to it though. Very close. Working his way up the hill now. Done on the inside clips. Little adjustment there into the last and final outside zone, but makes it work.
So Luciano ends up with an 85.8 for run number 1. Oliver Eppinger now with the line. The first run of qualifying for Oliver's underway, initiates in. Looks good off the initiation, quickly gets back on throttle after leaving outer zone 1. Now through outer zone 2, almost went a little too wide for outer zone 2. Really throwing that Supra around. Having to make quite a few corrections there in the first and second turn, but now coming through those inside clips, looks a little more settled in the car. Makes that final transition, gets up on the wall, and holds it nicely through that final outer zone, finishing out his run.
A solid run for Oliver and an 83.7 on the board. We move on to Brett Wolford. Our first RTR Mustang of the day. Run number 1. Filling outside zone number 2. Nicely done so far here for Brett Wolford as he works his way up the hill now, filling 4. Good angle before transitioning. Really tight to the inside clip, maybe a little bit too much. Maybe getting a piece of that rumble. And across that finish line, strong run for Brett.
Waiting for the scores to come in for Brett Wolford there. Definitely did touch that inside curb there just a little bit. His score ends up with an 86.7. Now at the line, David Laxo. Waiting to go for their first run of qualifying. See what David has in store for us today. Initiates in, quick snappy initiation, quickly back on throttle through outer zone 1 and 2. Now makes transition towards outer zone 3, looking like he's on a good line here towards outer zone 4. He is right to that track edge, makes the transition up the hill. Nicely done through that first inside clip through outer zone 1. Just missing that rumble strip as he came through the second inside clip. He's quickly going through the course. He's already on the final outer zone and finishing out the run.
Yeah, good lord, that last and final outside zone, 93.8 on the board. That'll put him in second position just behind Martinez. As we move on, Mustafa. And initiating in. Picking up throttle quickly as well. Still inside that zone. Fills outside zone number 2. Hangs on to the outside a little long. Gets into 3. Maybe a tad bit late. Working his way up the hill now. Getting into 4. 5 across that first inside clip. And perfect on number 2. That's a final transition. Burying the bumper in the wall and crossing that finish line.
A good run from Mustafa. First run of qualifying down for him, 89.2 on the board. Definitely just shy of those 90s, and I feel like he can reach it. Ernestus Yakulibis at the line. Ernestus ready to show us what they can do for the first run of qualifying. Initiating in, looking good off the initiation, right to angle, back on throttle, pushing all the way out to fill outer zone 2. Makes a snappy transition into outer zone 3. Almost looked like he was going to be late for it, but he made it work. Not quite filling out all of outer zone 4, but is plowing through the top half of the course here before coming back down the hill, making that final transition into that final outer zone, keeping on throttle. Not a bad run there from Ernestus Kulubis.
Yeah, nicely done. 89.3 on the board for Ernestus. We've got Lucas Pasquini at the line ready to go. Back in his E92. Firing it down the short run up, making it work for turn number 1 here. Filling outside zone number 1, 2, and 3. A little bit shy of that outside edge for 3. Gets 4. The transition up the hill, nice and smooth through the course. Bang on inside clip number 2. Final outside zone along that wall, putting the bumper in there and crossing that finish line.
Yeah, Lucas trying to get into those 90s, and he manages to do so. 91.2 after a very nice run from Lucas Pasquini. So we move over to our final driver of Group 2 before we go back up to the top. Jordi Jojo Lopez. Ready to really put it down in that BMW. Little shallow there through outer zone 1. Didn't fill the whole zone, but makes up for it through outer zone 2 and 3. Makes that transition up to outer zone 4. He's starting to get settled now in the top half of the track here as he comes through that final inside clip through outer zone 7. Now to outer zone 8. Makes that transition, puts the bumper and the wing on the wall. Not a bad run from Jordi Lopez.
Yeah, nicely done from Jordi. Win on that score, 86.7 on the board, and we're quickly back around to Cameron Mustard, currently sitting on that 89.8. Camera's off. Any better, the 89. You get it up into the 90s, just 0.2 shy. Blue transition. Cross 3 up into 4. A little correction over the hump there. Car seemed to unsettle just a little bit. Final transition. Nice and smooth into the final wall, but I think he got a piece of it there. Crosses the finish line. He will get a score, but will it be enough?
Just at the end there, it almost came all the way for him, or from him. An 85.8 on the board, so didn't reach that 90, but ends up with an 89.8 as his high score. Next up for their second run, sitting on an 82.2 and wanting to improve, Augusto Ferreira, the Team Excellence R34. Makes it through outer zone 1, nicely done through outer zone 2. Makes the transition through outer zone 3. Nicely done. Oh, goes too wide though for outer zone 4, dropping maybe 1 or 2 tires, but makes up for it near the top of the hill. Trying to fill all of outer zone 7, couldn't quite get there. Really puts the bumper into the wall for the final outer zone.
Oh my gosh.
Finishes out the run.
He indeed finished that run. I am not sure how he made that work in the final outside zone, but he did. 78.7, dropping that tire in outside zone number 4. And I really kind of messed up his transition timing. Here we go, Luciano. Narrow. Even the line. Initiating in. Filling 1, lighting off, but we see a little puff of dirt there. As he does, fills outside zone number 2. Quick transition across. Dodging that car up the hill now for 4. Cross 5. Down across that second inside clip. On the hill, final transition, working it out to that wall. And across that finish line. Nice and smooth from Luciano.
Yeah, Luciano, like firing it in outer zone 1 there. He was like, we're going for all the speed. 90.8. So definitely improving on that 85.8. That'll be a nice high score to have as we move to Oliver Eppinger, sitting on an 83.7. Initiates in. Looks good through outer zone 1, gets quickly back on throttle, nicely to the track edge of outer zone 2. Now through 3, round that reference point to outer zone 4, but shallow for outer zone 4. Didn't go as deep into the zone as he could, but now firing it over the hill. Just tons of speed as he comes down through outer zone 7, puts it into the wall, gets into it just a little bit, has to recorrect, but finishes out the run.
Yeah, tiny little wall tap there and a quick 83.3 on the board for Oliver. So falling just a little bit shy of his first run, that 83.7. Brett Wolford at the line, ready to go for run number 2. Wants to better the 86.7. We've got a lot of 80s so far, so we'll have to wait and see where that cutoff score is going to be. Leaves outside zone 1 just a little bit early, but fills 2. Filling 3 and working his way up the hill now for 4. Nicely done. Ross 5 now. A little bit inside clip number 1, but nicely done for 2. Getting around it this time. Filling 9 and into 10. And across that finish line.
An 86.3 for Brett Wolford, not quite reaching that 86.7, so he'll have to take that as his high score. David Laxo at the line, sitting on a 93.8, 0.2 points away from the top spot. Let's see what David Laxo can do for run number 2. Initiates in, looks good off the initiation, kicking up a little bit of dirt though, maybe tire dropping out of outer zone 1, but makes up for it, gets all of outer zone 2. Now through 3, and he's quickly going through the course into outer zone 4. Nice and smooth, filling all of the zones so far. Beautiful job through inside clip 2, through outer zone 7, the final transition, the final wall ride, get it on the wall, holds it there, finishes out his second run of qualifying.
Yeah, trying to better at 93.8. Is it gonna be enough? And it falls just shy of 92 on the board. So he'll stay with that 93.8 and in second position for now. We've got more groups on the way. This is just group number 2 as Safi blows his car up at the line. Just CSP things happening and the lights are illuminated. Safa firing off down the straight and filling outside zone number 1 and 2. Good transition for 3 around that reference point. A little hesitant on his throttle, working his way up the hill into 4, but looking good here on the plateau. Down the hill now. Nicely done for inside clip number 2 as well. And final transition. And across the line.
So Mustafa Amine wanting to beat that 89.2, and he definitely does. Turns it into a 92.7 for run number 2. Now, Ernestus Ukulibis sitting on an 89.3. Will he be the next driver to break into the 90s? I don't know how he saved that. I thought he was going right into the grass. But he gets back on throttle and makes his way through outer zone 2 and 3. Now through 4 up the hill. Through that first inside clip, he's carrying a lot of speed as he comes through that second inside clip down to outer zone 7. Makes the final transition right on the wall, keeping it on the bumper. A little correction there halfway through. But wow, what a run.
Yeah, big save there in turn number 1. Trying to better the 89.3. Falls just a little shy. 88.5 on that board for run number 2. Lukash sitting on his 91.2. He better it here in run number 2. Firing off, leaving outside zone number 1 just a little bit. Still able to see that yellow line for 2. Working his way up the hill now around that reference point. Nicely done for that first inside clip. And the second as well. Final transition into the final wall. And there he goes, crossing that finish line. Nicely done for Lukasz once again.
Yeah, Lukasz wanting to improve on that 91.2, and he does a 92.2 on the board. So that'll push him up a little higher. Now to our final driver of group number 2, Jordi Jojo Lopez, sitting on that 86.7, wanting to improve, initiates in, looks good through outer zone 1, get quickly back on throttle, keeping it right to that track edge around the whole turn 1, makes transition down to outer zone 3, and grabs outer zone 4 nicely as well, transitioning up the hill through that inside clip to outer zone 5, or 6, sorry, as we come through the second inside clip through outer zone 7, down to 8. He went deep, he goes into the wall, and that will end Jordi Jojo's qualifying on a 0.
Yeah, unfortunately it does, just dropping a little bit of tire before getting into that final wall. And it does indeed shut his run down. So we've got Martinez Elstreika at the top currently after 2 groups of qualifying with a 94. David Lashko with his 93.8. Brandon Gardner with his 93.7. As I believe we're going to get quick server restart. So I think we're going to hit a break. We get confirmation, we'll go. Well, we were going to pull up our qualifying scores there. Let's get a refresh on that. There we go. 9 through 16 for 2 groups of qualifying, and that is correct. We are going to take a quick little break, hear from our awesome sponsors, and we'll be right back with group number 3 here for round number 3 at Castelletto Circuit. All right, and we are quickly back. We've got Group 3 loaded into the server. They are getting their first little bit of practice runs in before we send them off for their qualifying runs. And we've got 5 groups of qualifying today. And our next group is Victor Alves, Braden Swan, Darius Ostreka, Stephen Hatcher, Linus Torkvis, Ethan Pikachu, Yaroslav Vasilio, Danielis Perengauskas, Abdulrahman Al-Shetwi, and Vladislav Yakulovich. Martinez still sitting on top with that 94 if you're just now joining us. David Lashko in that second position with the 93.8. And Brandon Gardner with a 93.7. Right, looks like we've got Victor Alves at the line ready to go. Lights are on. Victor's through that chicane and firing into turn number 1. He goes wide, drops some tires, stays out there for quite a bit. Fills 2 though, into 3. Working his way up the hill. Filling 4. Clean in the run up, a little bit on the inside of inside clip number 1, but gets around 2. Into the final turn. Working it back out to the wall, a little shallow on that zone, but he does lead his first qualifying run.
Yeah, gets first one in the books. It makes it across the line clean. It's a 79.5, so definitely a score Victor Alves will want to improve. We wait for Braden Swan to come to the line, that 370Z. There he is. Ready to go for run number 1 of qualifying, Braden Swan. There go the lights, and off he goes. Initiates in, holding that e-brake for a long time around outer zone 1, but makes up, gets on throttle, drops a pitted tire before outer zone 2. Now through outer zone 3, making his way to 4, staying on throttle, makes the transition up the hill, stays away from that inside rumble, though he was close. Through outer zone 4, through the second inside clip, makes the final transition on the wall. Keeps the bumper planted there and finishes out his first run.
Yeah, nicely done for Braden, and an 83 on the board. We move along. Lights are on. Here's Ostrika. Through the chicane. Picking up that throttle for turn number 1, working it out to outside zone number 2, hangs on to the outside a little bit after that zone, working his way up the hill now. Or snappy transition, works his way into that plateau, a little wide of that inside clip, filling that outside zone though, working his way down the hill. And a solid run for Darius.
Yeah, Darius putting in the work. And it shows off 93.5 on the board. That'll be a very good score. Maybe goes into run number 2 to challenge that top. As we have Steven Hatcher leaving the line, ready for run number 1 of qualifying. Huge flick initiation. Gets quickly back on throttle through outer zone 1. Looking good through outer zone 2. Makes that transition through outer zone 3. Around that reference point. Through outer zone 4. Maybe leaving 4 just a tad early, but makes up as he comes over the plateau, down the hill. Almost thought he was going to go too wide for outer zone 7, but he saved it, kept it going, and finishes out his first run of qualifying.
Aggressive run from Steven Hatcher. And a 95.7, that puts him in the number 1 position for round number 3 here in Group 3. Linus off for his first run. Initiating and firing off. Nicely done there for outside zone 1. 2 as well. Happy transition into 3, but ends up maybe a little bit wide. He's going to grab 4 though. The transition up the hill nice and smooth. Working his way down around that second one. Yeah, we want that lead tire right in the middle of the box, and he does just that. Nicely done for the final outside zone and crossing that finish line. Move from Linus.
Yeah, Linus throwing it down as well. 89.8 for run number 1. Now we move over to Ethan, as we call him Pikachu. One day we'll learn how to pronounce his last name properly. Till then, he's Ethan Pikachu, throwing it into outer zone 1, looking good. Right to angle in that FDRX7. All the way through outer zone 2, maybe not filling all of outer zone 2, in a very snappy transition, leaving outer zone 3, but makes it work for outer zone 4. Comes up the hill now through outer zone 5, through that next inside clip, putting it right in the middle. Makes that transition, the final transition, the final wall ride. Touches the wall just a little bit with the bumper before finishing out that run.
Yeah, nicely done for Mr. Pikachu. As he used to have a Pikachu on top of his car. I don't think I noticed it anymore, unfortunately. Ethan Pitchercow, currently on the 87.7. Yaroslav Ilio. Initiating in, and I thought he was going to over-rotate there, but he makes it work with the big giant M4. Transitions across for 3. And his way up the hill now. Transitions for 5. Grabbing that inside clip. He can fill both inside clips and outside zones at the same time. He fires off for the last and final outside zone and crossing that finish line.
Yaroslav really throwing it down there for run number 1. Ends up with a 94.7. Very good score from Yaroslav as we move over to Danielis Parangauskis in the Lexus, throwing it into outer zone 1. Quickly on throttle through outer zone 2. Nice angle as he makes transition through outer zone 3. And driving it all the way up to outer zone 4, making that transition up the hill through inside clip 1, through inside clip 2, down the hill through the second to last outer zone, makes the transition, puts it on the wall, tries to hold it there all the way around, and makes it work. Very nice run from Danielius.
And nicely done indeed. Look at there, 92.2 on the board. Abdulrahman Al-Shetwi on for his first run here in group number 3. Nicely done for outside zone number 1. That initiation was smooth, grabbing 2 as well. Throwing it into 3. Up the hill now for 4. Nice and smooth so far here from Abdulrahman. Way down the hill now. Almost getting a piece of the wall there. A little hesitant on that final transition. Nicely done through the run.
Julerman throwing it down on run number 1 and looking good doing it. And wow, a 95.7. He ties Steven Hatcher. So now it'll come down to run number 2 for both of them. Vladislav Yakulovich, our last driver before we go back up to the top, initiates in, looks good off the initiation, quickly back on throttle, looked like he was going to go off, but saves it as he goes through outer zone 2, now through outer zone 3. Looking good through outer zone 4 and now up to 5 through that next inside clip. One last transition to go for Vladislav Yakulovich, making it look easy out there, finishing out the run.
Yeah, nicely done from Vladislav there. And a 92.7 on the board. We're back rolling in the 90s. Back around to Victor Alves, currently sitting on his 79.5. Got the potential to throw it into the 90s as well as he throws it into turn number 1. Could have been a little bit deeper on outside zone number 2. Good transition, working his way up the hill now. Filling 4, but going a little bit wide of it. Not quite as deep as he needs to be for 5. And pulling the handbrake there before getting to outside zone, or excuse me, that inside clip number 2. And crossing that finish line.
Wanting to improve on the 79.5, and Victor Alves does. He goes up just a wee bit, up to 83 points on the board for his final run, and that'll be his high score. Over to Braden Swan now, leaving the line on an 83 himself. Wanting to improve, Braden throws it in. Looks good through outer zone 1, quickly back on throttle through outer zone 2. Now through outer zone 3, just driving a bit of that rumbles, but drawing a nice line towards outer zone 4 to fill all of outer zone 4. Now up the hill through outer zone 5, nicely done through the second inside clip against that yellow line for outer zone 7. Now the wall ride, puts it on the wall, scrapes it just a bit, and drops just a little bit of tire off the finish. Not a bad run, Braden Swan.
Yeah, trying to better that 83. And it definitely is a 92.7 on the board, I believe is what I saw before it flashed back to Darius Ostraka. He's on for run number 2. Throwing it in, picking up that throttle quickly, working his way for outside zone number 2. Into 3. Nice and smooth so far. Cross 5. Through that plateau. Around that inside clip as well. Nice and smooth for Darius, trying to better the 80 or 93.5 on the board. Is it enough?
Well, it's going to be close. 93.5. The scores slowly trickle in, and it just beats it by 0.2 of a point. 93.7. As we move over to Stephen Hatcher, currently tied with Abdulrahman for top qualifier. Throws that 240 SX in as he gets back on throttle through outer zone 1 and 2. Looking beautiful through outer zone 3. Steven going for it here. Dropping tire though into outer zone 4. Oh no. Kind of makes up for it up the hill. As he comes down, he's got to recover from that early mistake. Gets into the final wall ride. Sticks it right into the wall. Doesn't touch it though. Stephen Hatcher finishes out his run.
And a 92.8 on the board, so falling shy of the 95.7. We're back around to Linus. Currently sitting on his 89.8 on the car in. Out to outside zone number 2. Smooth transition for 3. Ends up a bit wide of the reference point, but he grabs 4. Nicely done. Late on the transition, grabs the inside clip. That one as well, bang on the middle. Final transition. Thought he got a piece of the wall, but he makes it work. Does drop off the edge just a little bit there across that finish line, but strong run.
Yeah, I'm happy to know I'm not the only one that went wide-eyed because I thought he was going right into that wall, but he saved it and improves on his score, a 90.8. So very good job there from Linus as we move over to Ethan Pikachu sitting on an 87.7. And he also get into the 90s, throws it through outer zone 1, kicks up some dirt there, and doesn't quite fill all of outer zone 2. Really throws it in for outer zone 3 to reach all of outer zone 4, filling it nicely. Now through, for 3, 4, 5, then 6, up the hill, down the hill. Little tight through those inside clips, but makes it work through outer zone 7. Now through outer zone 8, the final wall ride. Looks like an okay run there from Ethan. I think that might be enough to beat it. We'll have to see what happened with that tire drop at the beginning. The judges will decide.
And a 92.3, so definitely bettering that 87.7 he had on the board. That'll put him into 13th position. Yaroslav Vasilio off for run number 2. Currently sitting on that big 94.7. On outside zone number 2. The transition across 4-3. Up the hill now, grabs 4. Big car working good here on the small track. Ooh, a little bobble there. We're reaching that inside clip number 2. A little bit of left foot brake to work it back to the outside. Grabs the wall just a little bit. Drops the tire before crossing that finish line. I think he'll stay on that 94.7. Let's see.
Scores trickle in and an 89.2 for run number 2. So not beating that 94.7 as we have Danielis Parangalkis now sitting on a 92 for run number 1. Duty does for run number 2, initiates in, fills all of outer zone 1, quickly back on throttle to reach all of outer zone 2. Drawing a nice line there as he comes through 3, now into 4. Trying to hold it together, kind of slowed down that Lexus quite a bit, but picks back up the throttle, gets on it. Trying to make his way around outer zone 7, and it's close to the wall. But it stays straight as he finishes out his run.
Yeah, more than close to the wall. He was indeed on it. Trying to better the 92.2. Let's see if it is enough. think getting into the wall at the end there definitely hurt him. The 89 on the board for run number 2. Here's Abdul Rahman, really with his 95.7 on the board. Filling outside zone number 2. Up the hill. Leaving 4 just a little bit soon. And over the crest there. Filling 9. Last and final transition all the way out there to the wall. I don't think it's quite as clean as the first run.
Well, he has to better a 92.8. And if he doesn't, Stephen Hatcher is the top qualifier, and he ends up with an 89.7 for run number 2. So that does confirm Stephen Hatcher, our number 1 qualifier, as we come to the last driver of Group 3. Vladislav Yakulovic sitting on a 92.7. Throws it in to outer zone 1, making a nice arc towards outer zone 2, filling all of it nicely. Then 3. Staying planted on that throttle, maybe leaving 4 just a bit early as he comes through 5 and 6, now down to 7. Holding a nice line as he makes a final transition in outer zone 7. How they're transitioning that close to the wall is crazy as he finishes out his final run.
Yeah, tons of risk, tons of reward, and a 92.2 on the board. So he does fall just a little bit shy of his score. As you pointed out, it does put Steven back into that number 1 position, that 95.7 on the board. Abdul Rahman ties him, but doesn't with that lower score. So he'll hold on to that second position with a 95.7. And Yaroslav Vasilio with a 94.7 as we round out group number 3 and load in group number 4. They'll get a couple of practice runs in. For group 4, Marcus Lundqvist, Alan Hines, Nick Hang, Alexander Yegard, Austin Mitchell, Russell Jones, Kevin Stump, Brandon Patrick, Zach O'Sullivan, and Juanan Yorkas. All coming up next for group 4. Believe we've gotten last call. Should be pulling Marcus Lundqvist up to the line. There he is, Mr. Pink Drifter, with us once more. We in on those last runs to round out. We're sending Marcus off, returning back in his S13. I believe now the longest standing car used in the series. Here we go. Run number 1. Where Marcus throwing it in, picking up throttle quickly. Working his way out to outside zone number 2. Nice and smooth into 3. And a little off throttle area there. Working his way up the hill. Now a decel zone, but we want to see him use it with their angle around that inside clip, but we want to see him a little bit wider. Want to see him off those rumbles, and nicely done for the last and final outside zone.
A very good run indeed there from Marcus Lundquist, an 81.7 on the board. We'll see what he can throw down for run number 2 later on, as we have Team Heinz, the RTR Mustang, Mr. Alan Heinz himself, ready to go for run number 1 of qualifying, throws it into outer zone 1, gets back on throttle right against that yellow line for outer zone 2. Alan Heinz tearing up the first half of this course here as he's right along the yellow line there for outer zone 3. Grabbing that inside rumble though for the first inside clip, but quickly makes up for it through inside clip 2. Now the final wall ride for Alan Heinz. He has that Mustang on the wall. That was an amazing run aside from that one little mistake.
Yeah, just a little bit too far on the inside of inside clip number 1, but a strong score indeed. 92.5 on the board for Alan Heinz. Here's Nick Hang, ready to go for his first run. And group 4 firing off, working his way around that reference point. Snappy transition into 3. Working his way up the hill now. Happy once more. Nick Hang on a heater so far. Around that inside clip. Gotta stay off those rumbles. On the inside, been too deep into the final wall. And across that finish line.
Got to be one of the worst feelings in qualifying when you feel that rear end go into the wall and you just plant the throttle and hope it stays. He did stay for Nick Hang, and an 83.7 on the board. This is something he'll clean up for run number 2. As we have Alexander Yegert at the line, ready to go for run number 1 of qualifying. Initiates in, looks good on the initiation through outer zone 1, quickly back on throttle through outer zone 2, nice and clean through outer zone 3. Really tight to that reference point, filling all of outer zone 4, making the transition up the hill, touching that inside rumble for inside clip 1, and maybe a little too close in for inside clip 2 as well. Makes the transition work for the final outer zone. Very nicely done around the final outer zone.
Yeah, dropping a little bit at the end there, and then yeah, way on the inside of inside clip number 2. The score is going to show 87.3, but again, we've got a lot of scores in the 80s so far, so we'll have to wait and see what the cutoff score is going to be like. We move around to Austin Mitchell. And ready to go. Firing down the short run up, leaving outside zone number 1 a little bit soon though. Does get around that inside reference point, and we just want to see him get around it. Have a good line into each and every zone. A little bit wide of the inside clip number 1 and 2 as well. Final transition down the hill into the final outside zone. Nicely done there from Austin Mitchell.
Austin Mitchell ending on an 83.5 for run number 1 as we move over to Russell Jones. Russell Jones clears the gate, initiates in, dragging that handbrake all the way through outer zone 1, back on throttle into outer zone 2. Now making his way through the course, through outer zone 3, maybe too far inside for that reference point as he comes through outer zone 4 through 5 up the hill very quickly, keeping it nice and middle in those inside clips. He comes through outer zone 7, now makes a final transition into outer zone 8. Not too deep, but looking good.
Yeah, quite a bit on the inside of number 2. There it is, an 83.7 on the board for Russell Jones. Here's Kevin Stump at the line, ready to go. Kevin throwing it in. A little hesitant on his throttle input there. Hangs on to the outside a little bit for outside zone number 2. Grabs 3 though, grabs 4 as well. Big angle before he transitions up the hill. Staying off that rumble strip. Staying off this one as well, but could have been maybe just a little tighter. He works his way down into the final outside zone. And there he goes across that finish line.
Good to have you back, Kevin Stump. We'll see 88 on the board for run number 1, so not a bad first run. Brandon Patrick now at the line. Beat Pat himself. Lights go on. Let's see what he can do for run number 1 here of qualifying. Initiates in. Looks good on the initiation. Quickly on throttle. Really tight to that reference point to fill all of outer zone 2. Now through 3. Pushing that Beamer all the way to outer zone 4. Now up the hill for 5. Avoiding that rumble strip as he comes through 6. Down through the second inside clip. Through 7. Transitions really close to the wall. And hangs it there the whole way around.
Yeah, strong run from BPAT. An 88.8 on the board. Zach O'Sullivan now at the line, ready to go. Zach finding himself on the podium last round, working his way around turn number 1. Filling outside zone number 2, now 3. Around that reference point, nicely done. Leaving 4 just a tad soon. Grabbing that inside clip. Down 4-2 as well. And right along that wall, crossing that finish line, Zach O'Sullivan. Nice run.
Zach O'Sullivan throwing it down for run number 1. Ends up on a 94 for run number 1. As we come to our last driver of Group 4 before we go back up to the top. Juan and Jorquez throwing it into outer zone 1, quickly back on throttle. He makes it through outer zone 2, makes transition to outer zone 3, filling all of it nicely around that reference point towards outer zone 4 again, filling it nicely through outer zone 5 and down to 6 through that final inside clip. Juanin looking good out here so far in this final outer zone as well. Quickly finishes out his run.
Error. That's a 92.2 on the board for Juanin. We find ourselves back around Marcus Lundqvist. Mr. Pink Drifter. On after it. Run number 2 here, trying to better the 81.7. Outside 3, but almost backwards there. Yeah, definitely over rotates, unfortunately. He's going to shut the run down there. So he'll hang on to his 81.7. We'll bring Alan Hines to the line.
We definitely will. And that, it's something even I kind of experienced in practice yesterday. That car slows down too much, it stalls out, and that's just it. You're not saving it, and sadly, that's the way the cookie crumbles. So sitting on a 92.5, Alan Hines, Team Hines, the RTR Mustang, ready to go for run number 2. The lights go on, and run number 2 for Alan Hines is underway. Initiates in, looks good on the initiation, right to angle through outer zone 1, right along that track edge. How he didn't kick up dirt is unreal through outer zone 2, now through 3, following that line all the way through 4. Looking a lot cleaner this time around, avoiding that inside rumble this time. Through the first inside clip, nicely doing inside clip 2, through outer zone 7, now through 8, got into the wall just a little bit, but managed to recorrect it and save it for the end.
Yeah, hangs on to it there and does better. The 92.5 gets a 94 on the board for Alan Hines. That'll put him in 5th position, at least for now. I got a couple, one more group left to go. Here's Nick Hang. Run the Sierra in, picking up throttle around that reference point, filling outside zone number 2. Having that next one, working his way up the hill now for 4. Nice and smooth around that inside clip. Staying off these rumbles. Look at there. Nick Hang dialed in. Can he keep it off the wall this time? A little hesitant on that final transition. He makes it work. Crossing that finish line. Nicely done.
just see it as he was coming around that final outside zone. The little hesitation in the wheel, like, is it going to happen again? And it didn't. And the score shows for it a 93.3. Definitely beating that 83.7 from run number 1. Alexander Jaeger ready to go for the second run of qualifying. 87.3 on the board. Fires it into outer zone 1. Gets back on throttle. Nice angle too as he comes around outer zone 2. Through outer zone 3, dropping a tire though through outer zone 3, or at least kicking up dirt as he comes through outer zone 4. Now 5 up the hill, touching that inside curb with the front tires in inside clip 1, but making up for it in inside clip 2. Through outer zone 7, clean now the wall ride of outer zone 8 to finish out his run of qualifying.
Is it enough to better the 87.3? And it certainly is a 94 on that board for Alexander Jaeger. Back around to Austin Mitchell, currently sitting on his 83.5. And leaving outside zone number 1 a little bit early again. Filling 2. Transitioning up the hill a little bit early there. And a little bit deep as we see that dirt pop up. Through that transition, a little bit wide of inside clip number 1, 2 as well. He works his way down the hill, grabbing that next outside zone, and into the final one here along that wall, and crossing that finish line.
So Austin Mitchell ending out qualifying, improving his score with an 84.5, bettering that 83.5 as we have Russell Jones sitting at the line. Sitting on that 83.7. Let's see what they can do for run number 2. Initiates in. Looks good on the initiation through outer zone 1. Quickly gets back on throttle through outer zone 2. Then transitions towards outer zone 3. Gets up on the rumbles but holds it together as he grabs outer zone 4 nicely through 5. Through that first inside clip, little bit of correction there with his angle coming over outer zone 6 down the hill, but makes up for it and finishes out the run.
Yeah, will he better the 83.7? And he does, a 90.5 on the board. Put him in 24th position. Kevin Stump currently sitting on his 88. Tosses the car in. A little bit more commitment in his throttle, it sounds like, as he works his way up the hill now. The transition dives into that inside clip, goes wide to the next one just a little bit there, works his way down the hill now. Final transition, works it out to the wall with that left foot brake, and across that finish line.
Will it be enough to improve on the 88? For one more score to come in before we get confirmation. And he does beat it by 0.8. An 88.8 for run number 2. Also sitting on an 88.8, well, this man here, Brandon Patrick. Initiates in, looks good on the initiation. Big angle through outer zone 1. Making his way through outer zone 2, now through 3. Really snappy as he leaves outer zone 3 to go through outer zone 4. Now up the hill. Nicely done through that first inside clip through outer zone 6 and back down the hill as well, filling all the zones. Now the final wall ride puts that very short-ended, back-ended BMW right on the wall and finishes out the run.
Yeah, he certainly does, trying to better that 88.8, and he does with a 94.7 on that board. Here we go. Zach O'Sullivan, currently sitting on his 94. Firing off. Filling outside zone number 2. Starting to work up the hill now. Good line. Into 4 now. Really smooth on his transitions here. On around that inside clip, that lead tire right in the middle of that box. Final transition, he bumps up a little bit of dirt. I thought he was in the wall, but he finishes it out. My goodness.
Locked in was Zach O'Sullivan on that run. Wow. Close to the wall in that final transition. We're still waiting for one more score to come in. I'm sure the judges are just as shocked as I am. Or something happened. There it is. 96.7. Zach O'Sullivan now moves up to be our number one qualifier with only one group remaining. Juan and Jorquez, our final driver of Group 4, sitting on a 92.2. Let's see how they finish out Group 4. Initiates in, looks good through outer zone 1. Gets back on throttle through outer zone 2. As he comes through outer zone 3, following that nice arc towards outer zone 4. Makes the transition up the hill. Middle through inside clip 1, middle through inside clip 2. Through outer zone 7, now down to 8. Juan and Jorquez looking dialed in for the final run, hoping to beat that 92.2. Let's see if he does it.
He just might. A very clean run indeed, and a 94.8 on the board for run number 2. So that's going to round out 4 groups of qualifying, and we're bringing our last group of qualifying in. So up next, Econ Pileski, Ajan Reeves, Steven Jarbo, Vitaly Assam, Daniel Mora, Nico Staleo, William Holloway, Olivier Blias, Daryl Diaz, and Samuel Cuddy to round out our last and final group of qualifying. Zach O'Sullivan now sits on top with his 96.7. What a run from him. I believe the only mistake was that tiny little tire drop in that final transition into the final wall. He made it work anyway. Acted like it really didn't even happen. Then we've got Steven Hatcher in that second position, 95.7, and Abdul Rahman Al Shetwi with his 95.7 in third. Get a refresh on our cutoff box here. You should be able to see the top 28. Again, we have a last 16 qualifying battles right after this, where the 29th through the 44th qualifiers will be put into a top 16 bracket, and they'll battle it out for the last 4 positions in the top 32. While the top 28 are locked in to the top 32 that we will be holding later today instead of tomorrow. Ironically, due to weather. Not just for me, quite a bit of the U.S. is going to be affected by this. Already being affected down there in Texas, Oklahoma area. Putting snow and ice down. Ice is going to be the worst. We hope everyone is prepared for it if you're going to be affected. Here we go. Ticon Pileski coming to the line. Or run number 1 of group number 5. After 4 runs, we'll have a top 44 cutoff for our last 16 qualifying battles. Here's Ticon Pileski throwing it in, lighting off, dropping a little bit of tire, filling outside zone number 2. Transitions into 3 and now working his way up the hill. Nicely done for 4. Oh, a little almost late for 5, but he makes it work. Grabs the inside clip anyway. And working his way down into the last and final outside zone. Crossing that finish line. Very smooth from Ticon.
Very smooth run from Ticon. and ends up with a 95 for run number 1. We know anything about the robot, he will be able to improve on that. Next up, Dijon Reeves initiates in. Looks good so far. Quickly back on throttle in that Corvette. It's so great to see someone still running a Corvette as transitions into outer zone 3. Very snappy transition into outer zone 3. Drives it up the hill through outer zone 5, grabbing all of that rumble strip with his front tires. Judges won't want to see that as he comes down the hill towards that final outer zone, gets into the wall just a little bit, but hangs onto it and finishes out the run.
Yeah, hangs on to it indeed. And an 89.3 on the board. Dijon Reeves. Teammate Steven Jarbo. Another AOM teammate working his way through outside zone number 2. Nicely done for 3. Picking up that throttle, working his way into 4. Nice through 5. Having that inside clip. Nicely done for the second one as well. Very smooth on his transitions, but he bounces off the wall just a little bit, gets it back out to the outside, and finishes out his first run.
Steven was on track for a good run there, but then bouncing off the wall at the end, ending out with an 86 on the board for run number 1. Vitaly Azayev now at the line. Let's see what Vitaly can throw down here. Initiates in. Looks good on the initiation. Back on throttle. Through outer zone 2. Now transitioning down to outer zone 3. Over towards outer zone 4, filling all of these zones nicely so far as he comes through 5 and up the hill. Maybe a little inside there on the inside clip. Same with inside clip 2. But draws a nice arc towards the final outer zone. Puts it on the wall. Drags the bumper around it. Very clean run from Vitaly Azayev.
Yeah, wow. Strong run from Vitaly. Where does that land him? Goodness gracious, a 95.8 on the board. That'll put him into second position, moving Steven Hatcher, Abdurrahman Al-Shetwi down. Here we go, Daniel Mora. Initiating in, picking up throttle. Right at the end of that rumble strip. Grabbing 2, 3 as well. Staying on throttle. Dodging that car up the hill now. Could have been deeper on 4. Leaves it just a little bit early as well. A little bit on the inside of that first inside clip, but nicely done for the second one. Final transition, a little hesitant there into the wall, and he'll finish out his first run.
Yeah, some things to clean up for run number 2 there for Daniel Mora. Ends up with an 86.8 as we come to our final RTR driver of the day from Team Heinze, Nico Stalea. See what Nico can throw down here. Initiates in. Do outside zone 1, puts it right to the track edge. Took him a bit to get on throttle, but once he did, now that Mustang's moving through outer zone 2 and 3. Towards outer zone 4, puts it on the yellow line as he comes up the hill, maybe touching that rumble strip, coming up the hill towards outer zone 6. Now back down, clean through 7, and now the final wall ride on outer zone 8. Looks nice and clean from Nico Stalea.
Yeah, clean run indeed. Our final RTR Mustang of the day, waiting on that score to come in. And it's going to be a strong one, a 97 on the board that puts him into number 1 position. Nico Stalea. Pushing down Zach O'Sullivan and Vitaly. William Holloway on for his first run. Hiding off quickly. Working his way around turn number 1, filling outside zone number 2. Hangs on to the outside a little long, but grabs 3. Around that reference point and up the hill. Filling that next outside zone. Grabbing that inside clip. Remember, we want him off those rumble strips. He stays off of it for the second one. Final transition. And crawling through this last and final outside zone.
So, William Holloway, 78.8 for run number 1. Gonna have to clean things up and get a better score in run number 2. Olivier Blias now at the line. Quickly going through this final run of qualifying. Olivier initiates in, looks good on the initiation. Goes towards outer zone 2, filling all of outer zone 2 nicely. Nice snappy transition into outer zone 3 as he drives up the hill. Dropping some tire there out of outer zone 4 though. Trying to fly up the hill through outer zone 6 and the 2 inside clips. Now the final transition into outer zone 8. Tries to keep it along that wall, but it drives off it just a bit before the finish line.
Yeah, and gets a nice score on the board, a 90.8 for Olivier. Or back around Daryl Diaz. Daryl joining us again in the RX-7. Initiating in almost backwards there. Does have to make a couple of corrections. Doesn't quite fill outside zone number 2, but grabs 3. Starts to clean it up now. Up the hill. Could have been deeper for 4. Grabs 5. Right along that edge for the rumble strip, but really tight to that one. Does end up on the rumble strip just a little bit as he transitions down the hill for the last and final outside zone, crossing that finish line, and he'll end up with some points on the board.
So 79.2 there for Daryl Diaz. We come to our last driver of qualifying before we go back up to the top, run them again, and finish it out. Samuel Cuddy in the E46. Initiates in, looks good on the initiation. Thought he was going to drop a tire there out of outer zone 1, but he doesn't. Gets back on throttle and fills all of outer zone 2. Makes the transition into outer zone 3, trying to get out to outer zone 4 and does so. Now up the hill through outer zone 5. And now into 6, down the hill. Nicely done through the second inside clip. Through 7, final transition. Staying on throttle, trying to dance it around that final outer zone, and finishes out his run.
Yeah, was able to make it work. And a 93.5 on the board for Samuel Cuddy. Back around to Tikhon Pileski. Currently sitting 6th here in the last and final group of qualifying. 50 drivers showing up today. 6 will unfortunately cut short. Tikhon working his way up the hill now. Really tight there and doesn't quite make it out to outside zone number 4. Really tight to inside clip number 2. Or excuse me, 1. Gets around 2. And final transition. A very odd run from Tikhon Pileski there.
Very odd run indeed. I'm happy you're not the only one that was very about it. It's like he just left it in second gear and said, that'll be fine. 76.7 on the board for his second run, leaving him with that 95 high score. We move over to Dijon Reeves, 89.3. Let's see what he does here for the second run of qualifying. Good job through outer zone 1. Maybe drove off it just a bit early, but completes all of outer zone 2. Now into outer zone 3 and 4, filling it nicely up the hill towards outer zone 5. Doesn't touch that rumble. Stays off it. Fills all of outer zone 6 and 7. One last transition. This is where he went into the wall last time. This time he doesn't. Stays with it all the way through, hoping to improve that 89.3.
And doesn't fall. It's just a little bit shy with his 85.8 on the board. Here's his teammate, Steven Jarbeau. For his second run, sitting on that 86. Currently safe for the last 16 qualifying battles. Can he make it on up into the top 32 again later today? Not on Sunday this time. Through the plateau, around that inside clip. Nicely done in the RX-7. Final transition across. And finishing it out. Trying to better the 86. He might just do it with that run.
Oh, I think he will indeed. That was a way better run from Steven. Now on the correct day of qualifying, 92.8. to finish out his runs. Very good job indeed. Now at the line, sitting on a 95.8, Vitaly Azayev. Another contender that could definitely take the top spot in qualifying away from Nico Slay at the moment. Initiates in, looks good through outer zone 1. Thought he was going to drop a tire, but doesn't. Puts it right to the track edge for outer zone 2. Transitions to outer zone 3. Back on throttle, holding it through outer zone 4. Looking good through outer zone 5 up the hill. Through outer zone 6, midway through that second inside clip. Now down the hill. Towards that final outer zone. Thought he touched it, but he didn't. Stayed right along the yellow line the whole way around.
Yeah, nicely done. Again, trying to better the 95.8. Oh, and falls just shy. 0.1 shy. 95.7. Daniel Mora back at the line, ready to go for his second run. Lights are on. Initiating in. Move through turn number 1, filling 2. Driving 3 as well. Lots of angle there. Has to make a small correction. Working his way into 4. Up. Across that inside clip. Could have been a little bit tighter. We want to see that lead wheel in the middle of the box. Final transition. I thought he was in the wall. He stays off of it and across that finish line.
Daniel Mora trying to improve that 86.8 and manages to do so. Gets into the 90s, 90.5 for run number 2. Now we head over to our top qualifier at the moment. Nico Stalea sitting on a 97. Initiates in, looks good on the initiation. Quickly back on throttle, keeping it right to that track edge the whole way around outer zone 2. Transitioning towards outer zone 3, getting up on the rumbles, but filling all of outer zone 3 and all of outer zone 4 up the hill now. Just avoiding that curb with that inside tire up the inside clip 1. But now back down the hill through inside clip 2 and outer zone 7. The final outer zone keeps it on the line. Nico on a tear.
Absolutely. Already sitting in that number 1 position. Does fall short with that second run at 91.3, but he'll hang on to number 1 position unless William Holloway, Olivier Blias, Daryl Diaz, or Samuel Cuddy cut on into that. William Holloway sitting on his 78.8. It was a strong run until that last and final outside zone. Here he is filling outside zone number 2. 3 as well. Now working his way up the hill. Does end up on the outside a little soon. Leaves 4 a little soon. And then a little bit too far on the inside for inside clip number 1. Gets around 2. Filling that next outside zone as well. And then throwing it into the final turn. A little bit better there. There he goes. Not crawling through it this time.
And William Holloway wanting to improve that 78.8 and definitely does. 93.2 on the board. That's got to be a good confidence booster for him. Sitting on a 90.8 now. Olivier Blias ready to go for run number 2. After Olivier, only 2 drivers remain in qualifying here for round 3 of the Virtual Drift Championship. Initiating in. Olivier looking good through outer zone 1, getting back on throttle, pushing all the way out to the track edge there. See, snappy transition into outer zone 3. Will it work for him through outer zone 4? Yes, fills all of outer zone 4 and 5. Nice midline through that first inside clip, filling all of outer zone 6. Olivier looking dialed for run number 2. He puts it on the yellow line, drives off it just a bit though, as he finishes out his second run of qualifying.
Yeah, nicely done. Trying to better that 90.8. He does with a 96 on the board for Olivier Blias. Next driver, Daryl Diaz. On that line, ready to go. Sitting on his 79.2. He is currently not safe for battles. Work his way into them today. The transition. Filling 3 does leave it just a little soon. Grabs 4 though. 5 as well. A little bit wide of that first inside clip and then a little tight to the next one. In that zone. A transition into the final outside zone. A little bit of foot brake to get it back out there. He crosses that finish line.
Yeah, Daryl Diaz trying his best to improve on that 79.2, and he does. Moves up 89.2 now on the board. So we'll see how that shakes out once all the scores are finalized. Now for our final run of qualifying for round 3 of the Virtual Drift Championship here at the Castelletto Raceway. 93.5, Samuel Cuddy in the E46 throws it into outer zone 1. Nice job through outer zone 1, filling all of outer zone 2, now through 3. Driving that E46 up the hill through outer zone 4, now through 5. Midline through both the inside clips and filling all of outer zone 6 and 7. One last transition to go here in qualifying. Samuel Cuddy finishes it out strong.
He certainly does. With our last and final run as well at 91.2, so he does fall shy of his 93.5. And that is going to do it for traditional qualifying before moving on into our last 16 qualifying battles. We'll bring up the full scores here after we refresh it there. OBS sometimes wants to cooperate and sometimes doesn't. There we go. Nico Stelea, number 1 position with his 97 on the board. Zach O'Sullivan with his 96.7, and then Olivier Blias with a 96 on the board to round out our top 3 qualifiers today. So again, top 28 all the way down there to Daniels Parangauskas is locked into the top 32. And then from 29 through 44, we'll go into our last 16 qualifying battles that will come up next. Unfortunately, Austin Mitchell, Oliver Eppinger, Victor Alves, and Augusto Ferreira, along with a couple others, will be cut short today. What a round of qualifying. Tanner, what do we think before we head into some battles?
I think we're in for some great battles. I mean, there's drivers that are coming out of nowhere and just putting in some great scores. And it's anyone's game with this course. You can tell the drivers love it. They're dialed in. You know, qualifying gets a little sketchy on run number 1, but then 2, they just come back swinging. And I think it's going to be a great day, and it's a good day to 2 battles on the same day as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we'll take a short break, get our servers ready for this last 16 qualifying battles. We'll get those commercials turned down a little bit, so they might start out a little bit loud, but I'll quickly turn them down for y'all. We'll hear from our wonderful sponsors, and we'll be right back with the last 16 qualifying battles. All right, and we are back again. After traditional qualifying, we've got our last 16 qualifying battles Coming right up. If you're just now joining us, we'll take another look at our line map before we head on into our battles, as it will be important. Our first decel zone right there after initiation. It goes until that rumble strip ends, and we want to see those lead drivers in particular lining off right there at the end of the rumble strip, working their way back to the outside for clip number 2, and then into clip number 3, where we do have, it's hard to see, a small little off throttle area there for clip number 3, lighting back off at the end of the zone, and then working your way up the hill for 4, staying on throttle for 5, 6, your first inside clip, and then out to 7, where we do have a decel zone there, but we want to see those lead drivers stay off their handbrakes. We want to see the deceleration used with angle through that course and through that section for clip number 7 at the top of the hill, down into your next inside clip where you got to stay on throttle around it, and into clip number 9, and then your final transition for that final wall ride and clip number 10. We'll take a look at our last 16 qualifying battles bracket. Alex Rogachev and Jordi Lopez will start things off. Ernestas Yakulibis, Tyjon Reeves, Daniel Moore and Liam Akihiko, Russell Jones and Simon Sandman all up next at left hand side of your bracket, and then we'll move on to our right hand side of the bracket. So drivers just getting their last little bit of runs in before we send them off for their last 16 qualifying battles. Take your screenshots if you want to of the bracket there. You can follow along. We'll pull it up when we have our breaks in between the groups and follow along as well. So that first pair being called to the line now. Alex Rogachev and Jordi Lopez will be coming to the line now. First battle for round number 3. And again, so this season we were doing 2-day events. Saturday for qualifying, and the last 16 qualifying battles, and then top 32 main event on Sunday. But ironically, we're changing it due to the weather in the US. Tonight we'll be knocking out a lot of power for a lot of people. We've got our drivers at the line ready to go for our first battles here on Castelletto Circuit. Alex Rogachev and Jordi Lopez.
That's exactly right, Craig. Alex Rogachev in the lead lane up against Jordi Jojo Lopez. Our first battle of the last 16 here of round 3 of the Virtual Drift Championship is underway. They leave the start gate and initiate in, looking good on the lead. Look at that proximity though from Jojo in the chase as they come through outer zone 2, now down towards outer zone 3, leaving a little room there for the transition. Jojo wanting to get back on that door, but Alex doing a great job up front here as they come over the hill, down the hill, now through the final 2 outer zones. They make the transition onto the wall ride, and Jordi Lopez sticking it to the door of Alex.
Nice little final dive there. Let's take a look at our first replay. Alex out front, initiating in, lighting off right at the end of that rumble, getting around that reference point. Again, we want to see those lead drivers getting around these inside yellow lines there. Jordi right there in tow, falling back just a little bit, but right on the bumper through that next transition. Along the plateau there, down around that inside clip, giving up some room for the final transition, and then that dive from Jordi Lopez in that chase, staying right there with him, crossing that finish line, and they head back to the start line.
Getting themselves flipped around. Jordi Lopez now in the lead. Alex Rogachev ready to chase him down. Only one advances on to the next set of battles. The lights go on and off they go. Clear of the gate, through the gears, initiating in. Jordi Lopez out front. Alex right there on the door through outer zone 1, now through outer zone 2. Leave just enough room for that transition along the bumper. Alex putting the tire on the door of Jordi as they come up the hill now to that inside clip and outer zone 6. Alex is not leaving him any room for error as they come into that final outer zone. Alex keeps it on the door, driving off the zone a little bit, was Jordi at the end.
Yeah, a little bit of mistakes out front from Jordy, as well as in the chase a little bit. Let's take another look at it. Jordy fighting off when he needs to. Alex sacrificing a little bit of angle to hold that proximity. Right along the bumper, makes a big dive there. Once more, sacrificing just a little bit of angle to stay with Jordy, but Jordy leaves for a little bit early, a little bit too far on the inside of the inside clip as well. There, he's really good on it. Alex, once more, sacrificing a little bit of angle to hold that proximity, but he does indeed, and there we see Jordy leave that final outside zone quite a bit before crossing that finish line. We'll go to our judges for the first time today here in battles. Alex on the left, Jordy on the right. Winner moves one step closer to the top 32 again later today. And it does look like we have a one more time. So Chris and Ed go with a one more time. Carl goes with Jordy. We're going to line them back up. That's one way to start the battles.
That is one way to start the battles indeed. A one more time already on the first battle. If this is anything to show you what will come later this afternoon, well, stick around. So line them back up. Alex Rogachev coming to the line. He will now slot back into the lead lane with Jordy Jojo Lopez chasing him down for the one more time battle to see who will take that first spot in the last 8. Lights go on and off they go for this one more time battle. Initiating in, looking good for Alex out front. Jordy leaving him a bit of room there off the initiation as they come through outer zone 2, losing some proximity, trying to play catch up as Alex is way out front now, coming through the top half of the course. Now Jordy starts to get back on the door as they come and make the final transition to that final outer zone. Jordy gets on the door of Alex and they finish out run number 1.
Yeah, they sure do. Let's take a look back on the replay here. Alex initiating in. And with it, grabbing outside zone number 2. Jordy falling back, working his way back up the hill. The transition up it, grabbing that inside clip as well, staying off these inside rumbles. Nicely done from Alex out front, very clean. Could use a little bit of angle here and there, but good angle here on this last and final outside zone with Jordy right there with him. They head back to the start line.
We just wait for them to get flipped back around and slotted into their proper lanes. Now Jordy will lead out run number 2 of this one more time battle. Alex will get ready to chase him down. The lights come on and the second half of the one more time battle's underway. Jordy initiates in. Alex right there on his door off the initiation as they come through outer zone 1, now through outer zone 2. Barely any room on that transition into outer zone 3. A little bit of tires or dirt kicked up there from one of the drivers. They come up the hill now. Alex on the attack, staying right on the door as they come over the hill, down the hill, make the final transition. I don't know how Alex didn't make contact, but they finish out that run side by side.
Yeah, it was indeed very, very close. Let's take another look here. Jordy throwing it in. Grabbing outside zone number 2, very clean from Jordy out front. Big angle, does barely get around that inside reference point, leaves forward just a little bit early. Grabbing that inside clip, staying off the rumbles, I believe here. Grabbing 9, final transition. Alex right there with him throughout the entirety of the course. Much cleaner from Jordy out front. Let's go to our judges once more. Alex on the right. Jordy on the left. Jordy on the right. And there they go, quickly sliding to the left. Alex Rogachev gets the win here in the last 16 against Jordy Lopez, and he moves one step closer to the top 32.
So Alex Rogachev getting that win over Jordy Lopez in that one more time battle, and we move on to see who will face Alex in those last 8. Will it be Ernestus Ukulubis slotting into that lead lane, or will it be Dijon Reeves chasing him down for run number 1 of the last 16 battles here of round 3 of the Virtual Drift Championship. The lights come on and off they go for the first half of the battle, initiating in for Ernestus, right to angle off that initiation. But there's Dijon right along the door through Outer Zone 2. They make the transition through Outer Zone 3 towards Outer Zone 4. Dijon right along the door of Ernestus Ukulubis. They fire up the hill through Outer Zone 5. Now start coming down, or sorry, through Outer Zone 6. Now down the hill, the final transition to Outer Zone 8. Dijon Reeves keeping good proximity, getting right onto the door there as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, let's head back to the replay here. Ernestus out front, throwing it in with quite a bit of speed, picking up that throttle, and a couple of bobbles there in the chase from Dijon, working their way up the hill now. Nice and smooth by both. Look at there, buried into the door is that chase car. Now up the hill. Around that inside clip, Ernestus goes just a little bit wide, but Dijon deals with it nicely. Works his way back into the pocket. There they go across that finish line. Scrappy battle to start things off between these two.
Let's see how the second half of this battle plays out. Dijon Reeves gets that Corvette turned around and slots into the lead lane. Ernestus Ukulubis ready to chase him down here for the second half. As the lights go on, the second half is underway. Down the straight, initiating in. Dijon Reeves right with them, though. Ernestus Ukulubis thought he was going to go backwards off that initiation, but manages to hang on to it in that chase as they come through Outer Zone 3 and start driving up the hill now. Dijon looking good out front, but Ernestus on that attack goes into the door of Dijon Reeves through Outer Zone 6. Dijon manages to keep control of his car, though, so they can keep going on this run. That was a big contact there. Something I'll let Craig look at on the replay.
Yeah, really big contact indeed. Let's take another look here. Flying down the street is Dijon. Lights off in time, though. Grabs outside zone number 2, 3 as well. Working their way up the hill with Ernestus right there. Here we go. Let's see. It didn't seem like Dijon was doing anything really wrong out front. Just gets the punt there. It is really easy, especially as that chase driver, to get quite a bit of air from the front of your car, and those front wheels leave the ground, and even though you're on the brake, it doesn't matter because those wheels are no longer touching the ground. Maybe that's what happened. Judges will go over it, take a look at it. Dijon was decelling too early or too much in that area. It'll be put on Dijon. It'll be his fault. Ernestus, he was coming in too hot. As we do have a decel zone there. Now again, we don't want to see drivers using their handbrake in that area, but they are allowed to use their left foot brake. Make it work. Yeah, overhearing it in Discord, judges explaining it, they are gonna slide left for Ernestus. He'll get the win. Dijon, after reviewing the replays, came off throttle way too soon outside of that decel area. So the fault is gonna be put on Dijon Reeves.
Well, a good explanation from our judges, and that moves Ernestus Ukulubis into the last state to go up against Alex Rogachev as we have our next battle underway. Daniel Mora in the lead with Liam Akihiko ready to chase him down. They come through outer zone 1 off that initiation, now through outer zone 2. Daniel Mora out front, looking good so far. Liam Akihiko right along the door, though, as they come up through outer zone 4. Now to make the transition up the hill. This is where the contact happened in the last battle. No contact this battle, as Liam keeps it right on the door, but Daniel dropping some tire there out of outer zone 7 as they come through the final outer zone and finish out the run.
Let's take a look on the replay here. Initiating in as Daniel Moore with Liam right there in tow. Sacrificed a little bit of angle back there, but Daniel on a ton of it through turn number 1. Into 2 as well. Working his way up the hill. Filling 4. Liam popping out of the smoke right there and staying with him through that plateau section of the course. So much fun, this course. Final transition. Look at the dive there from Liam in that chase position. Same with Daniel as he leaves that outside line just a little bit.
Well, now back at the start gate and flipped around, Liam Akihiko will now lead out the second half of this battle. Daniel Mora will chase him down. Wait for the lights to signal the start of the second half of the battle, and they are off. Liam out front, Daniel chasing him down. Liam initiates in, looking good off that initiation. Daniel right there with him through outer zone 1 and 2. Now the transition down to outer zone 3. Daniel Mora almost not leaving enough room for the transition as they leave outer zone 3 and up the hill now. Daniel on the attack, trying to get right up on the door of Liam. But Daniel parks it on the inside, trying to really capitalize on that moment to maybe regain that proximity, and loses it completely and basically straightens out at the final turn of the course.
Yeah, he does. Let's take another look at it here. Liam firing off turn number 1. Grabbing outside zone number 2. Daniel going after it, sacrificing a little bit of angle and gets caught up in that first transition. Working his way up the hill now, waiting for it, and then pops out of the smoke. Pours on the angle and ends up way on the outside is Daniel Mora. Big angle from Liam before making that final transition as well, and leaves it just a little bit. We'll go to our judges here in the last 16 once more. This time it's Daniel Mora on the left, Liam Akihiko on the right. Winner goes one step closer. And there they go to the right. Liam Akihiko gets the win over Daniel Mora. And we'll see him later on to face the winner of our next battle, Russell Jones and Simon Sandman.
That's exactly right. Russell Jones slotting into that lead lane. Simon Sandman ready to chase him down for run number 1 of this battle, and which is the last battle of the left-hand side of the bracket for the last 16. The lights go on and off they go. Russell Jones accelerating, initiating in, looking good off the initiation. Right on his door, though, is Simon Sandman as they come through outer zone 2. Now make the transition through outer zone 3. Simon trying to keep as close proximity as he can to Russell Jones out front as they come up the hill. Maybe not leaving enough room for the transition there for Russell Jones. Looks like he didn't quite get to the angle he wanted. And there's some more contact on the next transition into the final outer zone. Well, a lot for you to dissect on that replay.
Yeah, a lot happened there. Let's take another look here. Russell Jones out front, Simon Sandman chasing him down. A quick early initiation from Russell Jones. He makes it work. Bill's outside zone number 2. Simon right there on the bumper through that first transition, stays with him as they work their way up the hill, filling 4. Transitions into 5, maybe a tiny little bit of contact bumper to bumper there through that next transition around 5. They work their way down the hill now, and definitely some contact there in that final transition. Throws Russell off just a little bit. He gets into the wall just a tiny bit as well.
Well, back at the line, ready to go for the second half of their battle. Simon Sandman now in the lead lane. Russell Jones ready to chase him down. Only one moves on to the last 8 to see Liam Akihiko. The lights go on and off they go. Big initiation for Simon Sandman out front, but Russell Jones right along the door as they come through outer zone 1 and 2. Now making the transition into outer zone 3. Lots of angle for Simon Sandman out front. But Russell Jones sticking right with them as they make the transition up the hill. Russell doing a good job to leave enough room for that transition, but looking a little twitchy in that chase as they come down the hill now into that final outer zone. There's Russell getting back into the proximity as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, getting back into it quickly. Let's take another look here. Simon Sandman out front, initiating in with Russell right there. A little bit of contact in turn number 1. Staying with him though, right along the bumper. Like he stays off of it, makes a little bit of a dive there. Working their way up the hill. Transitions for 5. Pops out of the smoke as Russell Jones working his way back into the pocket now, a little bit behind. Final transition, stays off that bumper, makes another dive here in the last and final outside zone. Simon dropping a little bit of tire. Let's go to our judges. Russell on the left, Simon on the right. We've got them sliding. They go left for Russell Jones. He gets the win over Simon Sandman and will face Liam Akihiko before heading on into our top 32 later on today. So we'll pull up our bracket as the right-hand side is done and complete. Alex Rogachev gets the win over Jordi Lopez. Ernestas Yakubis also earning his victory over Daishan Reeves. Liam Akihiko getting the win over Daniel Mora, and Russell Jones taking down Simon Sandman. Up next, Linus Torfus and Brett Wolford, Cameron Mustard and Daryl Diaz, Luciano Canero and Robert Kivsinski, Maxime Tengai and Kevin Stump. Right hand side of the bracket. They'll load in, get a couple of runs in, make sure all of their equipment is working properly. Then we'll send them off. Again, take some screenshots if you'd like to. We'll pull them up when we have the opportunity. And last call being called for those drivers. Linus and Brett should be coming to the line now.
So here we go. The right-hand side of the bracket for the last 16 qualifying battles. Linus Tornquist blocks into that lead lane. Brett Wolford in the RTR Mustang ready to chase him down for run number 1. Wait for the lights to go on, and off they go for the first half of this battle. Down the straight, initiating in, looking good on the initiation. Brett Wolford matching the angle as they came through outer zone 1, leaving a little bit of room there as they leave outer zone 2 through the transition to outer zone 3. Now Wolford starting to get into that pocket right near the door of Linus Torquist out front. Linus with a lot of speed, a little tap there from the chase. They come down the hill. And now through the final transition, the final outer zone, the final wall ride, Brett Wolford gets on that door. Linus keeps it straight out front.
Let's take another look here. Linus out front, initiating in, grabbing that throttle quickly, and getting out to outside zone number 2. Could have been a little bit deeper there. Brett making a dive here up the hill. Linus a bit wide there, leaves 4 a little soon because of it. Makes the transition maybe a little bit late as well. Little tiny tap from Brett Wolford in that chase position. Well, Linus doesn't quite fill that second to last outside zone as well. There he goes across that finish line with Brett right there in chase.
Now we'll flip them around and get them ready for the second half of their battle. Brett Wolford will now lead it out. Linus Tornquist will chase him down for the second half here. Lights go on, off they go. Lighting up the tires down the straight, initiating in for Brett Wolford, looking good through outer zone 1. Linus right there with them as they come through outer zone 1, almost going too wide for Linus. He had to make a correction there as they come through outer zone 3, now through 4. Linus leaving enough room for the next transition up the hill, taking more of an inside line, just trying to stick with the speed of that RTR Mustang out front. Now the final transition, Linus puts it on the door of Brett Wolford, and they finish out door to door.
Yeah, they do. Let's take a second look here on the replay. Brett out front this time. Linus giving chase. Picking up throttle quickly around that inside reference point. Again, could have been a little bit deeper there on outside zone number 2, but Brett getting away a little bit there in turn number 1. Nicely done for 2, and outside zone number 4, 5 as well. Staying off that inside rumble is Brett out front. Right there on that inside clip as well. Big angle before making that final transition into the last and final outside zone. There they go across that finish line. Do we have a winner between these two? Linus on the left, Brett on the right. Winner goes one step closer to the top 32 again later today. Take a little break, mainly for us staff. Gotta get something to eat, you know? And then come back with the top 32 main event. They are sliding, and they're sliding right. It is a unanimous decision. Brett Wolford gets the win over Linus Torkfist and moves one step closer.
So Brett Wolford advancing on into the last state as we move on to our next battle between Cameron Mustard and Daryl Diaz. Cameron in that lead lane. Daryl Diaz ready to chase him down. The lights go on and this battle's underway to see who will see Brett Wolford in the last state. Initiating in for Cameron Mustard, looking good off the initiation. Daryl Diaz right there with him as they come through outer zone 2. Now making the transition down towards outer zone 3. Daryl trying to keep that proximity. Cameron doing a good job out front here, almost choking out the lead there as they made that transition. I thought Daryl was going to go right into the side of him, but he managed to get that RX-7 slowed down as now they come into that final outer zone. Daryl Diaz puts it on the door, bounces off him a little bit, but they cross the finish line.
Yeah, they do. Let's take another look here. Cameron Mustard out front. Big angle on initiation. Almost leaving one a little early. Could have been a little bit deeper for 2 as well. Daryl doing a nice job to deal with it. Hanging on. In the pocket, up the hill, into 5 now. Pops out of the smoke. Stays right there with him. They work their way around that second inside clip. Nicely done for the next outside zone. Smooth transition into the final wall where we get a little bit of contact from that chase position. There they go across that finish line, and we'll line them back up.
Waiting for the drivers to turn back around, but now Daryl Diaz will slot into that lead lane. Cameron Mustard will chase him down. Only one can advance on to the last state, and one goes home. They wait for the lights to go on. The second half of the battle is now underway. Daryl Diaz initiating in. Cameron Mustard right there with him as they come through outer zone 1. Daryl Diaz doing a good job into outer zone 2. Cameron Mustard losing a bit of ground, but quickly regaining it through outer zone 3. Now to 4. Leave enough room for that transition up the hill. Daryl Diaz getting away a little bit as they come over the hill, but Cameron Mustard quickly recovers as they come down the hill. Make that final transition. Cameron Mustard puts it on the door of Daryl Diaz as they finish out the second half of this run.
Yeah, let's go back to the replay here. Daryl out front, second half of the battle here. Lighting off. A little bit tight to that inside reference point. Gets there really soon. Not really a smooth arc around it. Cameron staying with him. Getting back into the pocket now for outside zone number 4. Pops out of that smoke. Utilizing that inside clip there. Back down the hill. Nice and smooth so far. Into the final last zone. And there they go across that finish line. Do we have a winner? Another scrappy battle between these two. And here in the top 16. Or excuse me, last 16. Cameron Mustard on the left. They're already sliding that way. It is going to be Cameron Mustard. Ed wanted it one more time. Cameron Mustard will get the win with Chris and Carl going left. and he'll face Brett Wolford.
Well, congratulations to Cameron Mustard. We'll see him a little bit later against Brett Wolford in that last state as we move on to our next battle of the right-hand side of the bracket. 2 more spots remain in the last state. Luciano Canero in the lead lane. Robert Kavinsky ready to chase him down here. As the lights go on and off they go for their battle. Initiating in for Luciano Canero. Really wide, dropping tire. Good job from Luciano to keep it back on track, and from Robert Kavinsky to not make contact there through outer zone 1, but it's really thrown off Robert in that chase now as he tries to just reconnect and get up to the door and get back in that proximity. Luciano has recovered well and is now putting on a good lead run as they finish out the run.
Let's take another look at it. We see Luciano go way off there, dropping 2 tire. Robert doing all right dealing with it. Ends up a little bit on the inside here, and then it almost looked like contact there, but they were feet away from each other. Very odd from Robert there in that chase position, working their way around that second inside clip. Now, final transition, we see still just a ton of wobbling from Robert in that chase position.
Well, let's see how the second half of this battle plays out. Robert Kavinsky will now slot into the lead lane. Luciano Canero will now chase him down. One of them will take one of the 2 remaining spots left in the last 8. The lights go on and the second half of the battle's underway. Robert Kavinsky initiates in, looking good off the initiation. Luciano right there on the wheel as they come through outer zone 1, now through outer zone 2, and now making the transition down to outer zone 3. Luciano Canero sticking right to the door of Robert Kavinsky as they come up the hill through outer zone 6, now down the hill. Robert trying to do his best out front, but Luciano is all over him as they come into this final outer zone, and Luciano almost pushing him across the finish line.
Let's go back to the replay. Robert out front this time, initiating in, tons of speed, almost some contact, and then just a ton of angle there, and has to make a couple of corrections to get that car to outside zone number 2 out front is Robert, but Luciano staying right there with him, making the transition up the hill around that inside clip. Couple of bobbles here and there by both. Down the hill, final transition into the last and final outside zone. Robert's got to work it back to the outside, and they go across that finish line. Let's go to our judges once more here in the last 16. Luciano on the left, Robert on the right. They are sliding right for Robert. Kevsinski, Chris and Ed, Carl. We don't know about Carl, but Robert, let's get the win with Chris and Ed going right.
Well, a good job there from Robert Kavinsky getting the win. Moving on to the last 8. So now our next battle at the line, and our final battle of the last 16 before we go into our last 8 and then decide who takes those last 4 spots in the top 32. Maxime Tingai leading things out. Kevin Stump chasing him down, initiating in for Maxime, looking good off that initiation. Nice angle as they come through outer zone 1 and 2. Kevin Stump doing his best to get that car right in the pocket of Maxime as he takes a little bit more of a shallower line to keep up with that lead. Now up the hill towards outer zone 6, leaving Kevin Stump behind just a little bit, but Kevin Stump not too far away as they come through that final transition into the final wall ride. Kevin Stump just sticking right there with them as they cross the finish line.
Yeah, let's take a second look. Team out front. Kevin giving chase. Nice and clean initiation from Maxime, filling outside zone number 2 as well. And then maybe a little bit of contact there from Kevin Stump in that chase position along that first transition. Really close on that one, but seems to stay off the bumper as they work their way around that second inside clip, now down the hill. Final transition. Right along that wall. Kevin trying to work that S15 back onto the door.
Well, now back around at the start gate, Kevin Stump will slot into that lead lane. Maxime Tingai will chase him down for the second half of this battle. Only one advances on to go see Robert Kavinsky in the last 8. The lights go on and off they go. Kevin Stump initiates in, looking good off the initiation, dropping a bit of tire and kind of dancing with that lead, trying to get it out to outer zone 2. Maxime Tingai just sticking behind him, putting that car where it needs to be and getting up onto the door for outer zone 4. A contact right there as they made the transition into outer zone 5. They come through 6 clean after Kevin drops some tires, getting a lot more speed up that hill than he expected. Now through outer zone 8, another push there from Maxime Tingai as they cross the line.
Let's take a second look at it here. Throwing the car in a little bit wobbly from Kevin along the initiation. Maxime does go wide though and drops a little bit of tire. And here they go working up the hill, filling outside zone 4, but leaving it a little soon is Kevin. And then, yeah, we see a little bit of contact from Maxime. It'll depend on that positioning because we don't want Kevin leaving outside 4 early, as that does cut the chase off quite a bit. But the chase, you know, has to deal with that car in front of him at the same time and leave room for that transition. So judges might go over it a little bit here. Maxime is on the left. Kevin Stump is on the right. And they are going to slide right for Kevin Stump. Kevin Stump will get the win. The judges reviewed the replays there, and it was a mistake on Maxime. The wrong positioning there for that transition, and then plus the mistake going off in at turn number 1. We'll bring up our bracket. We are missing just one battle on there, but we have completed both sides. Alex Rogachev and Ernestas Yakulibus, Liam Akihiko and Russell Jones, Brett Wolford and Cameron Mustard, Robert Kavinsky and Kevin Stump all up next for the last 8. And then we end it there. Once we have our final 4, we slot those into the top 32. It looks like our drivers are now coming to the line as well. There we go, our bracket getting updated.
Well, at the line they are. This is now into the last 8. The winner of these battles move on into the main competition later today. Alex Rogachev in your lead lane, up against Ernestas Yakulibis, ready to chase him down for the first half of this battle. The lights come on, and this battle's underway. Alex through the gate, Ernestas right behind him, initiating in, looking good through outer zone 1. Ernestas right on the door of Alex Rogachev as they come through outer zone 2, leaving enough room for that transition, but barely enough room as Ernestas quickly gets back up on the door of Alex Rogachev. They come up the hill now through that inside clip through outer zone 6. Good angle from Alex out front, but Ernestas able to keep it on the door through that section. One last transition to go as they come into that final outer zone, and Ernestas right along that door as they finish out the first half.
Yeah, let's take another look at it here. Alex out front. Ernestas giving chase. A little bit behind there along that initiation, but quickly onto the door of Alex out front. Working their way up the hill now. Buried into the door in the outside zone number 4. Now, on that plateau, down across that inside clip, Alex dialed in out front into the final outside zone. Look at there. Bumper buried into the wall, but Ernesta is pushing him across that finish line.
Well, now back around at the start line, Ernestus Yakulibis slots into that lead lane. Alex Rogachev ready to chase him down. Only one advances on to the main competition today. Which driver will it be? The lights come on, and off they go for the second half of this battle. Down the straight, initiating in, Ernestus right to angle through outer zone 1. Alex Rogachev trying to stick right with him as they leave outer zone 2. Transition down to outer zone 3. Starting to lose some ground there is Alex Rogachev in that chase. Gets back up to the door of Ernestus. They come through outer zone 5, now 6. Real wide goes the chase. Go picking up some dirt there through outer zone 6. They make that final transition. Now Alex is finally on the door as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, up and across that first inside clip, Alex gets way out of shape. Quite the late initiation in that chase position as well. They work their way into outside zone number 3 there in the replay. 4 now up the hill, and here comes that transition, and then washing wide is Alex Rogachev in that chase position. He gets back into it though, into the final outside zone. Ernestas buries his bumper in it there. They go across that finish line, and we'll go to our judges. Alex on the left, Ernestas on the right, and Ernestas gets the win over Alex Rogachev. We see him go off track there in his chase position.
Well, congratulations to Ernestus to make it through to competition later today. We have our next battle at the line and ready to go. Liam Akihiko in the chase. Russell Jones will lead them out as they realize that themselves and now made it into the right lanes. There we go. Russell Jones leading it out. Liam Akihiko chasing him down. Another spot to be filled in the top 32 after these battles. The lights go on and off they go. Down the straight, initiating in for Russell Jones. Right with him is Liam Akihiko. Oh, but contact into outer zone 2. And it doesn't upset Russell too much, but then Russell drops a lot of tire through outer zone 3. And then 4 as well. Really put him offline after that contact. Now they come through the top half of the course and down the hill. One last transition. Liam settled into that chase position now. No craziness happening as they finish out the run.
Yeah, let's take another look at it here. Russell Jones out front. We have a lot of contact right in the first turn. Yeah, very interesting there. Judges might go over it a little bit. We see Russell does go way off course there, but of course from that contact, Liam Akihiko in that chase position. They continue on down around that inside clip number 2 and fill in the next outside zone, and then Russell ending up a little bit shallow there and works it back out to the outside, drops a little bit of tire across that finish line. We'll flip him around for the second half.
I'll flip him around indeed as now Liam Akihiko slots into that lead lane. Russell Jones ready to chase him down for the second half of this battle. 3 more spots remain in the top 32. The lights go on and off they go. Liam initiating in, looking good off that initiation. Russell Jones right there with him in good proximity through outer zone 1 and 2. They make the transition down to 3 along the bumper. Russell Jones starting to get on the attack here as they leave outer zone 4. Now transitioning up the hill. Liam Akihiko leaving him behind though in that section. So Russell Jones having to work hard to regain that proximity as they come into the final outer zone. Now Russell Jones gets on the door as Liam finishes out the run.
Yeah, we'll go right back to the replay with Liam out front this time, throwing that car in. Maybe a little bit more speed, grabs outside zone number 2. Could have been a little bit deeper there. Russell pops out of that smoke and is along that bumper for the first transition. Stays with him up the hill. Liam filling 4, filling 5 as well. A little bit wide of that first inside clip. And inside clip number 2 as well. Does grab that second to last outside zone and then heads into the final one where he hangs that wing over the wall. But Russell pushes him across that finish line. We'll go to our judges here. Liam on the left. Russell on the right. And there they go. Unanimous decision. Russell Jones gets the win. And we'll see him in the top 32.
Well, congratulations to Russell Jones taking one of the 4 spots in the top 32. 2 remain, 2 more battles to go. This one at the line here. Brett Wolford in the chase. Cameron Mustard leading out the first half of this battle. The lights go on. This last 8 battles underway. Initiating in. Looking good for Cameron Mustard out front. Almost leaving Brett Wolford behind at the line. Brett Wolford having to play catch up as they come through outer zone 3, now down towards outer zone 4. Brett Wolford starting to get on the door. Some tire drop from either the chase or the lead. It was hard to tell as they come up over the hill. Now back down the hill. Brett Wolford starting to get that proximity and starting to get close to the door of Cameron Mustard as they cross the finish line.
And we'll go right back to the replay graphic a little bit backwards there. That is Cameron Mustard out front in that AOM A90 Super with Brett Wolford giving chase and staying with him. We see Cameron leave outside zone 3 maybe a little bit earlier and end up on the inside. Definitely 5, leaves that soon and makes an awkward line into 6, down across 7. There's a final outside zone. Brett trying to push him across that finish line. We'll bring him back to the start.
Well, now back around at the start line. Brett Wolford will slot into that lead lane. Cameron Mustard will get ready to chase him down for the second half of the battle. 1 driver moves on to the top 32. 2 spots remain. 2 battles to go, and this one's quickly ending. The light goes on, and off they go. Brett Wolford initiates in. Cameron Mustard right there with them as they come through outer zone 1. Cameron Mustard sticking right in that proximity as they leave outer zone 2. Transition along the bumper down to outer zone 3, now into outer zone 4. Brett Wolford doing a good job out front, but right along him is Cameron Mustard, trying his hardest to stay right beside that Mustang. So the Mustang drops some tire out of outer zone 7, now into that final outer zone. Driving off of it near the end, Cameron Mustard stayed glued to that door for that final outer zone.
Yeah, Brett looking like he's got a lot of forward drive in that Mustang. Let's take another look here. Filling outside zone number 1 and 2. Cameron popping out of the smoke there. Big angle up the hill now from Brett out front, filling 4. Could have been maybe a little bit deeper. Good on 5 and staying off that rumble strip there as well. And there we seem to go a little tiny bit wide. Nice and final outside zone. Puts that bumper along the wall, but definitely leaves the outside zone quite a bit. Go to our judges. Brett on the left, Cameron Mustard on the right. And winner goes on into the top 32. Then we have one more battle here in the last 16 before we head on into our top 32 main event here for round number 3. It looks like we do have a decision. We've got a one more time. Ed goes right, Carl goes left. We're going to line him back up for a one more time.
So the second one more time battle here in the last 16, and right when it matters most to try and get into the main competition later today. As they come around the corner, Cameron Mustard will slot back into that lead lane. Brett Wolford will get ready to chase him down for the second time here in the last 8. The lights go on, and the one more time battle is underway. Cameron Mustard leaves the gate, gets ready to initiate in. Brett Wolford right there with them, almost going backwards into outer zone 1, and that puts him on the back foot, leaving outer zone 2. He's gonna have to play catch up here as they leave outer zone 3, and there he is back into the pocket of Cameron Mustard as they fly up the hill towards outer zone 6. Now down the hill, Brett Wolford doing his best to keep that Mustang right along the door of that Toyota Supra of Cameron Mustard. They come into that final outer zone, losing some more proximity as they come through the finish line.
Yeah, let's take a second look at it here. Cameron Mustard filling outside zone number 2. 3 as well, nice and smooth from Cameron out front. But Brett still on the back foot, especially there. Coming through 5 and that first inside clip, he gets it together though and back into the pocket, but falls back quite significantly as well, heading into that last and final outside zone.
So back around at the start gate, Brett Wolford will now lead things out. Cameron Mustard will chase him down for the end of this one more time battle. Lights go on and off they go. Initiating it is Brett Wolford with a wild initiation off the start into outer zone 1. But Cameron Mustard sticking right with them as they come through outer zone 3 towards outer zone 4. Cameron Mustard sticking to the door of Brett Wolford as they try to get to outer zone 5, but not quite making it there. They come up and over the hill, down the hill now for the final transition. Brett Wolford staying online here, but Cameron Mustard right on his door that whole time.
Yeah, not really giving up any room there. Let's take another look. Brett out front this time, initiating in. Picks up throttle maybe a little bit late. Ends up way on the outside, but grabs outside zone number 2. Cameron popping out of the smoke. Sacrificing a little bit of angle there to stay with that big Mustang. But he does stay with him indeed. Nice and smooth through those inside clips. Brett, big angle before making the final transition. Nice and snappy. Stays in that zone this time. Crosses that finish line. And we go to our judges one more time between these two. Brett on the left, Cameron on the right. Again, winner goes on into the top 32. And it does look like we do have a decision. Brett Wolford is going to get the win over Cameron Mustard here. We'll get one of our judges in to maybe get some clarity on that, because a lot happened there in those two battles. What do we think, Tanner?
Oh, I agree. I mean, there was so much going on that it was even hard to commentate because it's just every turn was something new, something happening. So I would love to hear one of the judges' explanations on that.
There we go. Looks like Ed's dropping down. And Chris, how's it going?
Yeah, well, good. Just we thought we'd come and explain that because obviously it was a split call. So I'll come and explain from mine and Carl's perspective, and Ed can sort of give his side of things. So from me and Carl, that all comes down to the lead. And from what we saw, we feel that Cameron's leading error off that entry was a big error. He comes in really deep, really big angle. Is very, very late to pick up throttle. And for us, that's, in our opinion, that's what causes Brett to have that sort of moment where he slips backwards, is because if he'd have picked up throttle where the decel map says he would have just hit Cameron. So for us, it's really good chase driving to take avoiding action and drive to what is in front of him rather than just purely the XL decel map. And that hands advantage in the lead side to Brett. Cameron does have a better chase, but for us, he has a better chase that is enabled because of Brett having a better lead. It's not a perfect lead, but it's a much better lead.
For sure. Absolutely. Ed, you got something?
I saw that the other way, basically, because I went back and had a look at the replay, and I could see that from my perspective, I felt like Cameron was getting back on it just in time, and Brett was over-rotating at that point. So I saw that as kind of the other way. So that's why I swung the other way.
Absolutely. Thank you both coming down and explaining that for us, and we'll move on into our final battle here in the last 16 qualifying battles.
No worries.
All right.
Cheers.
In a bit, dude.
All right. Moving along. Robert Kaczynski and Kevin Stump will be coming to the line again for our last and final last 16 qualifying battles.
Absolutely. So here at the start gate, our final battle approaches. For qualifying, before we go into battles later today, not tomorrow, later today. So make sure not to go anywhere after this. Kevin Stump in the lead lane, being chased down by Robert Kaczynski. One moves on to that final spot in the top 32. The lights go on and off we go. Kevin Stump initiates in, looking good through outer zone 1, but some contact from Robert Kaczynski in that chase goes into the side of him before outer zone 2. Now they transition down towards outer zone 3. Robert seems more settled in that chase now, sticking right to the side of Kevin Stump as they fly over the hill for outer zone 6, but some tire drop from Kevin Stump. Now they make that transition down towards outer zone 8. Kevin Stump doing a good job, but again, that aggression from Robert Kaczynski pushing him into the wall at the finish.
Yeah, we'll go right to that replay here. Filling outside zone number 2. 3 as well, and again, Kevin ends up a little bit wide and leaves force very early. Doesn't quite get 5, but Robert deals with it in that chase position. Getting up into the fight quite a bit there, almost making some contact. And then do we have a little bit of contact there? Yeah, maybe, before crossing that finish line. It almost kind of looks like Robert's dealing with some connection issues, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely weird to see out of Robert. We know he's a good driver, and it's just, or maybe some mistakes happening today. It's, of course, that could maybe catch some out over others, but we'll see what happens in the second half of this battle. Robert Kaczynski now in the lead. Kevin Stump ready to chase him down. The lights go on and off they go for the second half of this battle. Initiating in, Robert Kaczynski out front, looking great out front. Really far inside was Kevin Stump there through outer zone 1, but makes up for it in outer zone 2. They transition through outer zone 3, and now Kevin Stump on the door of Robert Kaczynski, trying to give him enough room for that transition up the hill as they come flying over outer zone 6, down the hill towards outer zone 7. They make that final transition onto the wall ride. Kevin Stump just keeping that proximity there, not doing anything too risky as they cross that finish line.
Yeah, we'll go right back to maybe the final replay for the last 16 here. Fighting off Robert out front, getting away a little bit as well. Filling outside zone number 2. There, Kevin popping out of the smoke, making a little bit of dive for turn number 2. Robert could have been deeper for 4. Grabs that first inside clip, but a little bit tight to the second one. Kevin dealing with it right along the bumper through that final transition, making a little bit of a dive, a little bit of a lunge there before crossing that finish line. We'll go to our judges, maybe for the final time here. The last 16 qualifying battles. Winner goes on to the top 32. And they're sliding right. Kevin Stump. We got it one more time there from Carl down at the bottom, but Chris and Ed go right. Kevin Stump does get the win over Robert Kivsinski, and we'll see him in the top 32. We'll bring up our last and final last 16 qualifying battles bracket, where we see our Nestas, Brett Wolford, Russell Jones, and Kevin Stump all moving on into the top 32. So what will happen is Russell Jones will slot into that 29th position. It'll be Ernestas slotting into the 30th position. Kevin Stump will slot into that 31st position, and then Brett Wolford will take that 32nd position in the top 32. Take your screenshots if you'd like to. I'll let Dion in the background put up our top 32 bracket. He's generating it now. And it should be up. Let's take a look. And it looks like I need to refresh it. There it is. Our top 32 main event bracket for round number 3. So Nico DeLea in that number 1 position. He'll face Brett Wolford. Brandon Gardner will face Samuel Cuddy. Juanan and Jorquez against Braden Swan. Yaroslav Vasilio and Mustafa Amin. Vitaly Asov and Russell Jones. Martinez Ostreka and William Holloway. Stephen Hatcher and Daniel Parangauskas. Alexander Yegard and Masashi Yoshida. Zach O'Sullivan and Kevin Stump. Darius Ostreka and Daniel Andreev. Tikhon Pileski and Ethan Pitrakow. Brandon Patrick and Vladislav Yakulovich. Olivier Blias and Ernestas Yakulis. David Lasco and Nick Hang. Abdulrahman Al-Shetwi and Lucas Pasquini. Alan Hines and Stephen Jarbo. All in the top 32 main event. Tanner, what do we think? You got a winner?
The main event, I mean, we talk about a winner, that could be anyone. I mean, that's the way this always works in any of our competitions. But I mean, Nico looking on form, Stephen Hatcher looking better than I think he has in a long time. It's anyone's battle out there today. I think the battles are going to be absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I think so. We got a little bit of a taste of it here in the last 16 qualifying battles. But again, we'll take a break, get our top 32 main event scheduled. I believe we'll do it at the top of the hour. I'll have to confirm with staff. Again, there's some changes happening today from our normal scheduling for this season. We're doing the top 32 main event today because of the crazy weather throughout the U.S. and all of the snow and ice that will cause widespread power outages, including myself. So we're getting it all done today. Again, we'll take a break. We'll get the top 32 scheduled up on YouTube, and we'll see everybody back there shortly. Thanks to you for tuning in today for the qualifying, and big shout out to our sponsors, Stim Magic, Grip Roll, Joka Design, Fourth and Mods, Geronimo, and Ali Yusuf. We'll see everybody soon.
You would be a little, you would be